The auditorium in Pine Hollow, Mississippi, glowed long before the first note touched the air. Golden chandeliers reflected across polished wood walls, and cameras drifted between rows of wealthy donors dressed in tailored suits and elegant evening gowns. On massive screens hanging above the stage, the live-stream audience climbed by thousands every minute. People watched from church halls, hospital waiting rooms, small apartments, and quiet homes across America. The event had been promoted as a night of healing, hope, and generosity. At the center of it all stood Vanessa Sterling, one of the most celebrated gospel and soul performers in the country. Her silver dress shimmered beneath the lights. Her smile seemed warm enough to comfort strangers. Every movement looked carefully practiced. Every pause felt intentional. The audience adored her. Near a side curtain, hidden behind equipment cases and cleaning supplies, stood Nia Carter. She had just finished wiping down the edge of the stage. At 27, she looked older than her years. Long work shifts and endless worry had carved quiet exhaustion into her face. Her dark cleaning uniform contrasted sharply with the luxury surrounding her. Yellow gloves covered her hands. A cleaning cloth rested in her fingers. She intended to leave unnoticed before the next performance began. Then Vanessa looked directly at her. The singer stopped speaking mid-sentence and pointed toward the shadows. Conversations died instantly. Cameras shifted. Heads turned. Nia felt her stomach tighten. For one impossible second, she hoped someone else stood behind her. Nobody did. Vanessa smiled for the audience, but something cold flashed behind her eyes. She invited Nia forward with a sweetness that felt strangely dangerous. A few guests laughed softly, others watched with curiosity. Nia swallowed and stepped closer, wishing she could disappear. She had spent years learning how to become invisible. Invisible people survived. Invisible people kept jobs. Invisible people paid bills. Ever since life had collapsed around her, she had learned to lower her voice, avoid attention, and endure humiliation without protest. Yet now every camera in the room focused on her. The audience stared at her gloves, her uniform, and the cloth in her hand as though she had wandered into the wrong world. Vanessa insisted she step onto the stage. Before Nia could refuse, the singer grabbed her arm and pulled her beneath the lights. A ripple of surprise moved through the crowd. Nia nearly stumbled. Heat from the spotlights burned against her skin. The applause faded. The music stopped. The room waited. 5 years earlier, Nia had stood beneath similar lights for very different reasons. Back then, she was not a cleaner. She was a rising singer from a small African-American community outside Pine Hollow. Her voice carried warmth, honesty, and power that seemed to reach people before they understood why. Industry professionals predicted success. Local churches celebrated her. Neighbors gathered around televisions whenever she appeared on a national talent competition. She had become a symbol of possibility. Her family believed in her completely. Her father, Elijah Carter, worked long days repairing farm equipment. Her mother, Rochelle, served as a school cafeteria manager and somehow made every dollar stretch farther than it should. Her younger sister, Simone, lived with a serious liver condition that required constant treatment. Despite the hardship, their small wooden house overflowed with faith, laughter, and determination. Nia often sang old spiritual songs beside Simone's bed when hospital visits became frightening. Everything changed during the final week of the competition. Hours before the biggest performance of her life, Nia received a devastating phone call. Simone had suffered a medical emergency. While her parents rushed toward the hospital, a terrible highway accident shattered the family forever. Her father died almost immediately. Her mother survived only a few days. Simone lived, but her condition worsened dramatically. Nia abandoned the competition and ran to the hospital without explanation. The public never heard the full story. Rumors spread faster than truth. Commentators claimed she lacked discipline. Entertainment blogs labeled her unreliable. Then Vanessa Sterling, serving as a celebrity mentor on the show, offered a polished public statement that changed everything. She suggested that people who walked away from opportunity did not truly deserve success. The comment spread nationwide. Record labels lost interest. Industry doors closed. Within months, Nia disappeared from music. Now, 5 years later, she stood on a glittering stage wearing cleaning gloves instead of a performance gown. Simone's medical bills consumed every paycheck. Nia worked mornings cleaning the auditorium and nights washing dishes at a roadside restaurant. Dreams had been replaced by survival. Yet earlier that evening, while preparing the venue, she had overheard something she was never supposed to hear. Behind the glamour, behind the charitable speeches, behind Vanessa Sterling's carefully protected reputation, a secret had cracked open. Vanessa stepped closer and smiled for the cameras. Then she leaned near Nia's ear and whispered words meant only for her. "Fail quietly." The microphone clipped to Nia's uniform was already live. A strange silence swept across the auditorium. Some guests heard the whisper clearly. Others sensed only that something had changed. Vanessa quickly stepped back and resumed her public smile. But Nia understood the truth hidden beneath it. This was not entertainment. This was fear. And as the first notes of the next song echoed through the hall, Nia realized the woman admired by millions was terrified of a cleaner standing under borrowed light. Nia Carter stood beneath the stage lights while the audience struggled to understand what had just happened. The whisper lingered in the air like smoke after a fire. Some guests exchanged confused glances. Others dismissed it as a misunderstanding. Vanessa Sterling recovered quickly, offering the crowd another polished smile. Years of public appearances had taught her how to hide panic. Yet Nia saw the fear clearly now. It flashed behind Vanessa's eyes before disappearing again. The band began playing softly. Vanessa thanked the audience for supporting organ disease patients and spoke about compassion. Every word sounded rehearsed. Behind her, giant screens displayed photographs of sick children, exhausted parents, and hospital rooms. Then Nia's heart nearly stopped. Simone's face appeared across the enormous screen. Her younger sister looked fragile but hopeful. The image filled the auditorium. A wave of emotion crashed through Nia. Simone was not a symbol. She was not a fundraising tool. She was a real young woman fighting for her life every day. Nia remembered nights spent sleeping in hospital chairs. She remembered skipping meals to afford medication. She remembered hearing doctors discuss treatment costs they could never realistically pay. Watching Simone's image, used to support Vanessa's carefully crafted reputation, made her stomach turn. The performance continued. Vanessa sang beautifully through the opening songs. The audience applauded enthusiastically. Wealthy donors smiled and nodded. Some wiped tears from their eyes. Everything appeared perfect. Yet Nia could no longer ignore what she had overheard during rehearsal. Earlier that evening, while cleaning backstage, she had listened as Vanessa attempted to rehearse her signature song. During the most difficult section, the singer's voice had cracked badly. The famous high note never arrived. Moments later, technicians activated hidden support tracks, and suddenly the impossible note appeared through the speakers. Nia had spent years studying music. Even after losing her career, she never lost her ear. She knew what real singing sounded like. She knew the difference between a struggling voice and a flawless recording. What disturbed her even more was what she discovered afterward. During a break, she searched public records and old reports on her phone. Buried beneath years of glowing publicity, she found questions surrounding Vanessa's previous charity events. Large sums of money had vanished into vague administrative expenses. Families featured in fundraising campaigns reported receiving little actual support. Those discoveries haunted Nia while she stood backstage. Every donation collected tonight represented hope for families like hers. Every dollar mattered. Simone needed urgent treatment. Many others needed help too. If the reports were true, then suffering had become part of a business model. Vanessa finally announced the evening's centerpiece. The crowd erupted with excitement. Her signature anthem, Rising Higher, had become one of the most celebrated songs in American gospel music. Fans described the final note as miraculous. Critics praised her extraordinary range. The song transformed Vanessa from a respected performer into a national icon. The first piano notes echoed through the hall. Nia watched carefully. Vanessa performed confidently. The audience swayed. Cell phones filled the air. The song built toward its famous climax. Nia already knew what was coming. When the difficult section approached, Vanessa's posture changed exactly as it had during rehearsal. Her shoulders tightened, her neck strained. Then, right on cue, the hidden support track blended into the performance. The impossible note floated above the music. The audience cheered wildly. Something inside Nia broke. For 5 years, she had remained silent. She stayed silent when people mocked her disappearance from television. She stayed silent when doors closed. She stayed silent while working double shifts. She stayed silent while Simone's health declined. But silence felt different tonight. Silence now meant helping a lie survive. Without fully planning it, Nia stepped away from the curtain. A few audience members noticed her first. Then cameras caught movement near the stage. Vanessa saw her immediately. For a split second, genuine alarm crossed the singer's face. The expression vanished almost instantly. Vanessa laughed lightly into her microphone. "Look who decided to join us," she said. The music faded. Every camera turned toward Nia. Recognition spread through parts of the audience. Older viewers remembered her from years ago. They remembered the talented contestant who vanished before a national finale. Vanessa seized the moment. She introduced Nia with carefully disguised cruelty, describing her as someone who once possessed great potential but failed to stay focused. A few uncomfortable laughs drifted through the room. Nia felt heat rising in her face. The humiliation was familiar. Vanessa had always understood how to wound people while appearing gracious. Yet tonight something felt different. For the first time, Nia was not afraid of embarrassment. Life had already taken everything embarrassment could threaten. She took another step forward. "Vanessa," she said. The singer immediately spoke over her. The audience sensed tension. Conversation stopped. Journalists lowered notebooks and reached for recording devices. Even the musicians appeared uncertain. Nia looked toward the giant screen displaying Simone's face. Then she looked directly at Vanessa Sterling. And for the first time in 5 years, she decided she would not stay silent. The auditorium became unnaturally quiet after Nia Carter spoke Vanessa Sterling's name. Thousands watched through live streams. Hundreds sat frozen in expensive seats. The atmosphere no longer felt like a charity gala. It felt like the moment before a storm breaks. Vanessa recovered quickly. Years of fame had taught her how to survive uncomfortable situations. She smiled at the audience and shook her head with theatrical disappointment. "This is sad," she said gently. "Sometimes people struggle to accept the consequences of their own choices." Several guests nodded. Others remained uncertain. Vanessa continued speaking before Nia could respond. 5 years ago, this young woman walked away from an extraordinary opportunity. Life became difficult afterward. That happens. But blaming others for your decisions solves nothing. The statement drew scattered applause. Nia stood perfectly still. 5 years earlier, those words might have crushed her. Back then, she still believed public opinion mattered. She still believed powerful people would eventually tell the truth. Experience had taught her otherwise. "You know why I left," Nia said calmly. Vanessa's smile tightened. "Do I?" she replied. "My parents were dying. My sister was fighting for her life." A murmur swept through the audience. Many people had never heard that version of events. Vanessa laughed softly. "We're not here to revisit old stories. Tonight is about helping patients." Nia looked toward the giant screen where Simone's image still glowed behind them. "Then let's talk about helping patients." The room grew even quieter. Vanessa sensed the shift immediately. She stepped closer and lowered her voice just enough to sound concerned. "Nia, you're emotional, I understand. But this isn't the place." "Actually," Nia replied, "it's exactly the place." Several journalists sat forward. Vanessa's management team exchanged nervous glances near the stage. For the first time all evening, the singer looked uncomfortable. Nia continued, "Earlier tonight, I heard your rehearsal." Vanessa's expression hardened. "And?" "You couldn't sing the final section of Rising Higher." The audience reacted immediately. Some gasped, others laughed nervously. Vanessa smiled. "That's your accusation?" "No," Nia answered. "That's the beginning of it." The live stream comment sections exploded. Phones rose higher throughout the auditorium. Vanessa folded her arms. "You think because you once sang on television you're qualified to judge me? I think because I spent years studying music, I know what I heard." The tension became almost physical. Nia's heartbeat hammered against her chest. She knew there was no path back now. Every word pushed her deeper into dangerous territory. But she also thought about Simone. She thought about the hospital bills hidden inside kitchen drawers. She thought about parents sitting beside sick children while believing donations were reaching them. Truth mattered, even when truth came with consequences. The famous note in that song isn't live, Nia said. The statement hit the room like a dropped glass. Conversations erupted instantly. Vanessa's face remained composed, but something cold entered her eyes. Careful, she said. Why? Nia asked. The singer ignored the question. Instead, she turned toward the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly what bitterness sounds like. A few people laughed. Most did not. The mood had changed. Vanessa sensed it. She needed control, fast. Then an idea appeared. Her smile returned. Fine, she said. Let's settle this. She faced Nia directly. You were once a singer, right? Nia said nothing. Then sing. The audience reacted immediately. Everyone understood the trap. Vanessa intended to humiliate her publicly. The singer turned toward the musicians. Stop the music. The instruments fell silent. Then Vanessa extended a hand toward Nia. Show everyone what I've supposedly been hiding. Several guests smiled, expecting disaster. Others looked uncomfortable. Nia felt old memories rushing back. Television studios, bright lights, judges, dreams, then hospitals, funerals, bills, loss. Fear tightened around her throat. Vanessa noticed. Her confidence returned instantly. She believed she had already won. The audience waited. The cameras zoomed closer. For a long moment Nia said nothing. Then she looked toward the sound booth and asked a question nobody expected. Can the backing track be turned off first? The room froze. Vanessa's smile vanished, only for a second. But it was enough, because for the first time all night, people saw something they had never seen before. Vanessa Sterling looked afraid. A ripple of whispers spread across the auditorium after Nia Carter asked for the backing track to be turned off. The question seemed simple, yet everyone understood its meaning. Vanessa Sterling stood motionless beneath the lights. For years, she had controlled every room she entered. Tonight, for the first time, control felt uncertain. The audience watched closely. Journalists stopped pretending they were attending a charity event. Now they were chasing a story. Vanessa forced a laugh. The backing arrangement is part of the production, she said. Nia did not move. Then remove it. The room grew quieter. Vanessa glanced toward the sound booth. A brief hesitation passed across her face. Most people would never have noticed it. Nia did. The musicians noticed too. So did several reporters seated near the front. Vanessa realized she had only two choices: refuse and look guilty, agree and risk exposure. Her pride made the decision for her. Fine, she said sharply. The audience reacted immediately. The sound engineers exchanged nervous looks. Vanessa repeated herself, turn it off. A few seconds later, the production settings changed. The rich layers supporting the performance disappeared. The music became simpler, raw, honest. Vanessa lifted her microphone. The band began playing again. At first, everything sounded normal. The opening verses flowed smoothly. Her tone remained controlled. Several guests relaxed. Some even smiled at one another, convinced Nia had misjudged the situation. Vanessa noticed their reaction and regained confidence. The song continued climbing. Then it approached the famous section, the moment that had built her legend. Nia watched carefully. The same signs appeared. Tension in the neck, shoulders rising, breathing becoming strained. The audience could not identify the technical details, but they could sense something changing. Vanessa pushed harder. The difficult note approached. She reached for it, missed, tried again. Then her voice cracked. The sound echoed through the auditorium. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The mistake was impossible to ignore. Vanessa lowered the microphone. Her face flushed. Long night, she said quickly. Even professionals experience vocal fatigue. The explanation landed weakly. People had heard the difference. A few seconds earlier, they believed Nia was causing trouble. Now uncertainty spread across the room. Nia stepped forward. That's not the note people hear during your performances. Vanessa turned toward her. The kindness was gone. Enough. You know I'm right. You're embarrassing yourself. No, Nia replied. I'm embarrassing the lie. The audience gasped. Vanessa opened her mouth. Before she could respond, another voice interrupted. "She's telling the truth." Every head turned. A man stepped away from the sound booth. His name was Marcus Reed. For nearly 8 years, he had served as Vanessa Sterling's lead audio engineer. He looked pale, terrified, yet strangely relieved. Vanessa stared at him in disbelief. "Marcus," she warned. He ignored her. Years of silence seemed to fall away from him all at once. "The final note is pre-recorded," he said. The auditorium exploded. Voices erupted everywhere. Phones rose higher. Livestream viewers flooded comment sections. Marcus continued before fear could stop him. "The track has been triggered during major performances for years. Every concert, every television appearance, every fundraising event." Vanessa's face lost color. "Stop talking." Marcus shook his head. People deserve the truth. The audience sat stunned. Some looked angry, others looked heartbroken. Many simply looked shocked. Vanessa built her reputation on authenticity. Her entire public image centered around honesty, faith, and transparency. Now the foundation was cracking. "You're fired," Vanessa snapped. Marcus nodded slowly. "I expected that." The answer carried surprising dignity. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Nia looked directly at Vanessa. "That's only part of it." Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "What else do you think you know?" Nia hesitated. This was the dangerous part. Exposing the music deception had already changed everything. The charity questions were even bigger. Much bigger. Before she could answer, a familiar image appeared on the giant screen behind them. Simone Carter. The audience turned. Nia felt her chest tighten. Her sister's photograph remained illuminated above the stage, a sick young woman being used to inspire donations. The sight hardened her resolve. She looked back at Vanessa, then asked the question she had been carrying all night. "How much of tonight's money will actually reach patients like my sister?" The room fell silent. Vanessa said nothing, and for the first time, the silence sounded like an answer. The silence following Nia Carter's question seemed to stretch forever. Hundreds of guests sat motionless beneath the golden lights. Millions watching online waited for Vanessa Sterling to answer. The giant screen behind them still displayed Simone Carter's photograph. Her tired eyes stared across the auditorium like a reminder nobody could escape. Vanessa finally smiled. It was the same polished smile that had carried her through interviews, award shows, and charity campaigns. But now it looked strained. "Every dollar is handled appropriately," she said. The response sounded prepared, safe, carefully empty. Nia held her gaze. "That's not what the reports say." A wave of murmurs moved through the audience. Vanessa's management team became visibly nervous. Several people near the front began searching articles on their phones. Journalists typed furiously. The atmosphere felt completely different now. The gala no longer belonged to Vanessa. Truth had entered the room, and truth rarely leaves quietly. Vanessa straightened her shoulders. "You're making accusations without evidence. Then explain the missing funds." "I don't manage financial operations." "But you promote them." The exchange landed heavily. Several donors exchanged uncomfortable glances. Many had contributed substantial amounts over the years. Some began wondering where that money actually went. Vanessa sensed the growing danger. She needed to change the narrative immediately. So she returned to the weapon that had served her well for years. Status, power, class. "Let's be honest," she said. "This isn't about charity. This is about resentment." She pointed toward Nia's uniform. "You've spent years cleaning floors while watching other people succeed." The cruelty surprised even some of Vanessa's supporters. Nia remained calm. That seemed to frustrate Vanessa even more. "You think exposing me will somehow fix your life?" Vanessa continued. "You think being angry changes reality?" Nia looked toward the audience. "No." Then she looked back at Vanessa. "But truth changes reality." The room erupted with applause. Not everyone joined. But enough did. Vanessa realized something terrifying. People were starting to believe Nia. Then another unexpected voice entered the conversation. A woman stood near the center section. She appeared to be in her 60s. Elegant, confident, respected. Many guests recognized her immediately. Dr. Lorraine Brooks, a nationally known physician and advocate for organ transplant patients. She approached the aisle microphone. "I'd like to ask a question," she said. The room quieted. Dr. Brooks rarely spoke publicly without purpose. Vanessa forced another smile. "Of course." The physician looked directly at her. "Last year, my foundation submitted requests for support from one of your charity programs. We never received the funding that was publicly announced. Why?" Vanessa blinked. The question clearly caught her off guard. "I'd have to review the details." "I already reviewed them," Dr. Brooks replied. A collective gasp spread through the audience. She held up several documents. "My team has been investigating charitable discrepancies for months." Suddenly, the room felt smaller, hotter, more dangerous. Vanessa's expression hardened. "This isn't the appropriate venue for that discussion." "Actually," Dr. Brooks said calmly, "it may be the perfect venue." The applause returned. Louder this time. Backstage, event organizers exchanged frantic whispers. Sponsors began making phone calls. Public relations managers looked physically ill. The situation was spinning beyond anyone's control. Then another person stood, a father from Tennessee. His teenage son had appeared in one of Vanessa's fundraising campaigns 2 years earlier. His voice shook as he spoke. "You promised treatment assistance. We never received it." A woman near the back stood next, then another, then another. Stories emerged from every direction: families, patients, caregivers, people who had remained silent for years. The courage of one voice was giving courage to others. Nia watched in disbelief. This had become bigger than her, much bigger. She thought she was fighting for Simone. Now she realized dozens of families carried similar wounds. Vanessa stepped backward. For the first time all evening, she appeared genuinely overwhelmed. The room no longer saw a beloved star. They saw someone struggling to maintain a carefully constructed image. Then came the moment that changed everything. A message appeared on several journalists' phones simultaneously. One reporter stared at his screen, then another, then several more. Their faces changed instantly. The lead investigative reporter from a major news network stood up. "Ms. Sterling," he called. Vanessa looked toward him. The reporter swallowed. "We just received financial records from an anonymous source." The entire auditorium froze. The documents appear to show millions of dollars transferred from charity accounts into companies connected to your executive team. No one breathed, no one moved. Vanessa's face turned completely pale. Because unlike every accusation before this moment, she knew those documents were real. The auditorium erupted into chaos the moment the reporter mentioned the financial records. Conversations exploded across every section. Journalists rushed to verify the documents. Phones rang, cameras swung away from the stage and toward the growing commotion among reporters. Vanessa Sterling stood frozen beneath the lights. For years she had mastered every interview, every public appearance, every difficult question. She always knew where the conversation was headed. Tonight she did not. The reporter lifted his phone. "The files include bank transfers, internal invoices, and payment authorizations," he said. "Several transactions appear connected to companies owned by members of your executive board." A collective gasp swept through the room. Donors stared at one another. Sponsors exchanged worried looks. Several board members seated near the front suddenly appeared desperate to leave. Vanessa recovered enough to speak. "I haven't seen these documents." The answer sounded weak. Even she seemed to realize it. Nia Carter watched from the side of the stage. She felt no satisfaction, only disbelief. 5 years ago, she had stood alone while powerful people shaped her story without consequences. Now those same powerful systems seemed to be turning against one another. The reporter continued. "According to preliminary records, several patient assistance funds were redirected through consulting contracts and marketing entities." The audience reacted angrily. People had donated believing they were saving lives. Many now wondered whether they had financed luxury lifestyles instead. Dr. Lorraine Brooks stepped forward again. "If these documents are authentic," she said, "then patients were deprived of treatment opportunities while executives profited." The statement landed like a hammer. Families in the audience began crying. Several patients featured in previous campaigns sat silently, processing what they were hearing. Vanessa looked toward her management team. No one stepped forward. No one defended her. For the first time, she seemed completely alone. Then something unexpected happened. A middle-aged man slowly stood from the VIP section. His name was Charles Whitmore. Most people recognized him immediately. He chaired the Sterling Hope Foundation's board. For years, he appeared beside Vanessa at charity launches, hospital visits, and fundraising events. The room became quiet again. Everyone sensed his words would matter. Charles adjusted his glasses. His face looked exhausted. "I need to say something," he began. Vanessa stared at him. "Charles." There was a warning in her voice. He ignored it. "6 months ago, I raised concerns about financial transparency." The audience leaned forward. "I requested independent audits. Those requests were denied." A fresh wave of murmurs swept through the hall. Vanessa's expression darkened. Charles continued. "Several board members were pressured not to ask questions." The room exploded again. Reporters typed furiously. Camera operators rushed closer. Vanessa looked furious now. Her carefully crafted image had completely disappeared. "That's a lie," she snapped. Charles met her eyes. "No, it's the truth." The words carried unusual weight. He sounded like a man finally freeing himself from something heavy. Nia thought about all the years she spent carrying silence. Maybe Charles understood that feeling. Maybe everyone reaching the microphone tonight understood it. Truth often waited years before finding a voice. Then another shock arrived. A woman hurried onto the stage from backstage. She wore a hospital identification badge. Her breathing was uneven. Security moved toward her. Dr. Brooks immediately intervened. "Let her speak." The woman reached the microphone. "My name is Angela Freeman," she said. The room listened. "I'm a transplant coordinator at Pine Hollow Regional Medical Center." Nia's heart skipped. That was Simone's hospital. Angela looked directly at Vanessa. 3 months ago, our hospital submitted emergency patient requests connected to this foundation." She paused. One of those requests involved Simone Carter. Nia froze. Every muscle in her body tightened. Angela continued. "Funding was approved publicly. The money never arrived." The auditorium fell completely silent. Nia could barely breathe. Simone's treatment, the treatment they desperately needed, the treatment they were told lacked available funding. Approved, then lost. Something broke inside her, not anger, not grief, something deeper. The realization that help might have existed, that hope might have been stolen. Vanessa looked shaken. For the first time all evening, she had no response. No clever remark, no polished speech, no public relations strategy. Just silence. Then Nia stepped forward. Her voice trembled slightly. "Are you saying my sister could have received treatment months ago?" Angela lowered her eyes. "Based on the records we submitted, yes." The answer hit harder than anything else that night. Harder than the fake vocals, harder than the missing money, harder than the public humiliation. Because suddenly this scandal was no longer about reputation. It was about time. And time was the one thing Simone Carter was running out of. The words echoed inside Nia Carter's mind long after Angela Freeman stopped speaking. Time. Everything suddenly came down to time. For 5 years, Nia had fought impossible battles. She worked endless shifts. She sacrificed sleep. She sacrificed dreams. She sacrificed almost every piece of herself to keep Simone alive. Now she was learning that help may have existed all along. The realization hurt more than poverty. It hurt more than humiliation. It felt like theft. The auditorium remained silent. Many guests looked stunned. Some appeared angry. Others seemed heartbroken. The image of Simone still filled the giant screen behind the stage. No longer a fundraising symbol, now she represented the human cost of every missing dollar. Angela Freeman took a deep breath. "The Carter case wasn't the only one," she said. The audience reacted immediately. Several reporters moved closer. Angela continued. "We submitted emergency requests for 7 patients during the same funding cycle. Most of those families never received the assistance announced publicly." A wave of outrage rolled through the room. Parents stood, donors demanded answers, board members looked trapped. Vanessa Sterling stared at the floor. For years she had controlled every narrative. Tonight the narrative controlled her. Then another unexpected voice emerged. "I was one of those families." A woman stood near the rear section. She appeared exhausted. Strong, the kind of strong built by suffering. Her name was Denise Holloway. She held a photograph in trembling hands. "My son died last year, waiting for treatment assistance." The room went still. Denise lifted the photograph. A smiling teenage boy looked back at the audience. "His picture appeared in your campaign videos," she said, looking directly at Vanessa. Tears filled her eyes. "You raised money using his story." Nobody spoke. Nobody could. "We never received the support we were promised." The pain in her voice cut through every remaining defense. Several audience members began crying openly. Even journalists lowered their eyes. Some stories were too heavy for professional distance. Nia felt her throat tighten. For years she believed her family suffered alone. Now she saw an entire community of families carrying similar wounds. Different names, different faces, the same betrayal. Then phones across the auditorium began buzzing simultaneously. One alert, then another, then dozens more. Reporters checked their screens. Their expressions changed instantly. The lead investigative journalist stood again. "Federal authorities have issued a statement." The room froze. Every eye turned toward him. "A formal financial investigation has been opened into the Sterling Hope Foundation." The announcement detonated across the hall. Guests erupted into conversation. Sponsors hurried toward exits. Board members reached for lawyers. Public relations staff looked completely overwhelmed. Vanessa closed her eyes briefly. Just once. It lasted less than a second, but Nia saw it, the look of someone realizing the future they built is collapsing. Then Vanessa surprised everyone. She stepped toward the center microphone. The room gradually quieted. Many expected another denial, another excuse, another carefully crafted statement. Instead, Vanessa looked directly at Nia. For a moment she appeared older, smaller, less powerful. "You think you've won," she said softly. Nia frowned. The statement felt strange, almost disconnected from reality. Vanessa laughed bitterly. "You have no idea how this industry works." The audience listened. "You think one person created all this?" The room grew quiet again. Reporters exchanged looks. Something had changed. Vanessa no longer sounded defensive. She sounded dangerous. "There are people behind these foundations," she continued, "people whose names never appear on posters." The atmosphere shifted. Nia felt it immediately. So did everyone else. Vanessa wasn't confessing, she was warning them. "If the truth comes out," Vanessa said, "it won't stop with me." Several board members suddenly looked terrified. One man quietly left his seat. Another began making urgent phone calls. Nia noticed. So did the journalists. The story was changing again. What started as one singer's deception now appeared connected to something much larger. Something organized. Something powerful. Then Vanessa made a mistake. A fatal one. She looked directly at Nia and said, "Your sister should have stayed out of this." The room went dead silent, not because the statement was loud, because it revealed too much. Nia felt ice spread through her chest. The words sounded less like frustration, more like knowledge. Knowledge Vanessa should not have possessed. Angela Freeman noticed it too. Dr. Brooks noticed. Several reporters immediately began writing. Vanessa realized her mistake the moment the words left her mouth. But it was too late. The audience had heard it. And for the first time all night, Nia stopped seeing Vanessa as the final obstacle. She began seeing her as something else. A frightened person protecting someone bigger, someone powerful enough to make even Vanessa Sterling afraid. And somewhere across Pine Hollow, while the scandal exploded nationwide, Simone Carter lay in a hospital bed, unaware that a single sentence had just exposed a far larger secret. A secret that could explain where the missing money really went. The scandal dominated national news by sunrise. Every major network carried the story. Clips from the gala spread across social media at impossible speed. Vanessa Sterling's reputation, built over 2 decades, was unraveling hour by hour. Yet Nia Carter barely noticed. She sat beside Simone's hospital bed, watching monitors blink softly in the darkness. The room smelled of antiseptic and exhaustion. Rain tapped against the window. Doctors moved quietly through distant hallways. Nothing about the hospital cared that a celebrity scandal was consuming the country. Illness kept its own schedule. Simone slept most of the morning. When she finally opened her eyes, she found Nia staring out the window. "You look worried," Simone whispered. Nia smiled gently. I am worried. About me? Always. Simone managed a weak laugh. Then her expression grew serious. You should have been a singer. The words hurt more than Simone intended. Nia looked away. For years, she had buried that dream so deeply, she rarely allowed herself to think about it. Survival left little room for imagination. Before she could answer, her phone vibrated. Attorney Maya Reynolds. Nia stepped into the hallway and answered immediately. We have a problem, Maya said. The lawyer sounded more tense than usual. That alone was alarming. What happened? Someone broke into the Foundation archives last night. Nia frowned. Why is that our problem? A long pause followed, then Maya spoke carefully. Because several key financial records disappeared. Nia's stomach tightened. Evidence. Someone was destroying evidence. The realization changed everything. Until now, the scandal felt reactive. People were exposing past wrongdoing. Investigators were gathering facts. But evidence disappearing meant somebody was actively fighting back. Somebody powerful, somebody desperate. Maya continued. Federal investigators arrived this morning. They discovered entire files missing. Nia leaned against the wall. Can they recover them? Maybe, maybe not. The uncertainty frightened her. After ending the call, she returned to Simone's room. Her sister immediately noticed something was wrong. What happened? Nia hesitated, then told her the truth. Simone listened quietly. When Nia finished, she surprised her. They're scared. Nia blinked. Who? The people behind all this. Simone's voice sounded weak but certain. People only destroy evidence when they're afraid. Nia looked at her sister carefully. Even after years of illness, Simone remained remarkably perceptive. Maybe suffering taught people things comfort never could. That afternoon, another unexpected development arrived. Marcus Reed, the sound engineer who exposed Vanessa's fake vocals, contacted Maya Reynolds. He wanted to meet immediately. The meeting took place in a small church fellowship hall outside town. Marcus appeared exhausted. He had not slept. His hands trembled slightly, but his eyes carried determination. There's something I didn't tell everyone, he said. Maya and Nia exchanged glances. Marcus reached into a backpack, then removed a flash drive. The small device seemed strangely ordinary, yet Marcus handled it like something dangerous. What's on it? Maya asked. Marcus swallowed. Insurance. The word hung in the room. He explained. Several years earlier, he became uncomfortable with certain financial practices surrounding the foundation. Quietly, he began saving records. Emails, audio recordings, internal documents, meeting notes, anything that seemed suspicious. Nia stared at him. You kept all of that? Marcus nodded. I didn't know if I'd ever need it. Maya reached for the flash drive. Marcus pulled it back. There's more. The tension in the room increased immediately. Marcus looked toward the church windows, then lowered his voice. Vanessa isn't at the top. Silence followed. The statement confirmed what many had begun suspecting. Maya leaned forward. Who is? Marcus hesitated. Fear crossed his face. Real fear, the kind that comes from knowing dangerous truths. Finally, he answered. A man named Raymond Mercer. Neither Nia nor Maya recognized the name. Marcus wasn't surprised. Most people don't. He explained that Mercer rarely appeared publicly. He controlled consulting firms, non-profit partnerships, and media contracts connected to multiple charitable organizations. His name remained hidden behind layers of corporate structures. Yet according to Marcus, nothing important happened without his approval. Nia felt a chill. The story was becoming bigger than celebrity fraud, much bigger. Marcus looked directly at her. The night before the gala, Vanessa received a call from Mercer. About what? Nia asked. Marcus's expression darkened. About your sister. The room went silent. Every sound seemed to disappear. Nia's heartbeat thundered inside her chest. What did he say? Marcus hesitated, then answered. He told Vanessa that Simone Carter's file needed to disappear before anyone started asking questions. Nia stopped breathing. For a moment she couldn't process the words. Her sister, Simone. Not just another patient. Not just another fundraising photograph. Somehow Simone's case connected directly to whatever they were hiding. Marcus looked toward the flash drive in his hand. His face had gone pale. "And I have the recording." The church fellowship hall seemed smaller after Marcus Reed revealed the existence of the recording. Rain struck the stained glass windows while silence settled over the room. Nia Carter stared at the flash drive in his trembling hand. For several seconds nobody spoke. The weight of what Marcus had said hung between them. Simone Carter's file needed to disappear. Not a random patient, not a clerical mistake, not an accounting error. Someone had specifically targeted Simone. Nia felt a cold knot forming in her stomach. "Play it," Maya Reynolds finally said. Marcus nodded. He connected the flash drive to a laptop. The screen illuminated the dim room. A folder opened. Several files appeared. Emails, financial spreadsheets, audio recordings. Marcus selected one recording. The timestamp showed it had been created 2 nights before the gala. He pressed play. Static crackled briefly. Then Vanessa Sterling's voice filled the room. "This situation is becoming dangerous." Another voice answered, deep, calm, controlled. The voice belonged to Raymond Mercer. "Then handle it." The simplicity of the response felt chilling. Vanessa sounded nervous. "The Carter girl is still receiving treatment through Pine Hollow Regional." Mercer paused, then spoke. "Not for much longer." Nia stopped breathing. Maya looked equally stunned. The recording continued. Vanessa lowered her voice. "What if someone discovers the approval records?" Mercer laughed softly. The sound carried no warmth. "Then the records disappear." A long silence followed. Then came the sentence that changed everything. "That patient file connects directly to Project Evergreen. We cannot allow anyone tracing funds through that case." The recording ended. Nobody moved. Project Evergreen, the name meant nothing to Nia, yet Marcus looked terrified. Maya immediately opened a notebook. "What is Project Evergreen?" Marcus swallowed. "I don't know everything." His voice shook. "But I know it's bigger than the Foundation. Much bigger." He explained that the name appeared occasionally in internal emails over the years, always connected to financial transfers, always surrounded by secrecy. Nobody asked questions. People who asked questions disappeared from meetings, lost contracts, lost jobs, lost opportunities. The pattern frightened everyone enough to stay silent. Until now. Maya immediately copied the files, then contacted federal investigators. Within an hour, agents requested an emergency meeting. The story had entered an entirely different category. This was no longer celebrity misconduct. This was potential criminal conspiracy. By evening, federal authorities arrived at the church. 2 investigators reviewed the recording. 3 times, neither revealed much emotion, but their questions became increasingly specific, especially concerning Simone. That detail disturbed Nia more than anything else. Why did her sister matter? Why had Simone's medical file attracted attention from powerful people? Hours later, one investigator finally provided a partial answer. The explanation stunned everyone. Months earlier, Pine Hollow Regional Hospital had unknowingly submitted detailed financial documentation alongside Simone's treatment request. The paperwork included approval chains, vendor contracts, fund allocation records. Those records accidentally connected multiple charitable organizations to the same network of shell companies. The Carter case became a financial trail, a trail someone failed to notice. Until it was too late. Simone had never been the target. The paperwork attached to her case was. Nia sat silently. Years of suffering suddenly looked different. The delayed treatment, the missing funds, the vanished approvals. Someone had been protecting money while real families paid the price. The realization made her physically sick. Back at the hospital, Simone listened quietly while Nia explained everything. Her sister appeared thoughtful. Not frightened, not angry, thoughtful. Finally, Simone smiled weakly. "Then maybe all of this happened for a reason." Nia frowned. What reason could possibly justify this? Simone reached for her hand. Maybe God knew somebody had to uncover the truth. Tears filled Nia's eyes. For years, Simone remained the strongest person in every room, despite being the sickest. The next morning, national headlines exploded again. Federal agents executed search warrants across multiple offices connected to Raymond Mercer. Bank accounts were frozen. Computers were seized. Corporate records disappeared into evidence boxes. News helicopters circled buildings. Commentators debated implications. Vanessa Sterling vanished from public view. No statements, no interviews, no social media posts. Nothing. Yet the biggest surprise arrived that afternoon. Maya Reynolds called Nia from Washington. Her voice carried excitement for the first time. "We found something," she said. "What?" "A protected medical assistance fund." Nia didn't understand. Maya continued. Federal investigators uncovered several legitimate accounts hidden inside the broader network. Money originally intended for patients. Money that had never been distributed. Money authorities could legally release. Nia's heart raced. "How much?" A pause followed. Then Maya answered, "Enough to save Simone." Nia closed her eyes. For the first time in years, hope felt real. Not promised, not advertised, not performed beneath stage lights. Real. Yet even as relief flooded through her, another question remained. If Raymond Mercer was truly the architect behind Project Evergreen, why had he suddenly disappeared without a trace? Raymond Mercer vanished 48 hours before federal agents arrived at his primary office. By the time search warrants were executed, his private jet had disappeared from flight records. His phones were inactive, and several known associates claimed they had not heard from him in days. News networks treated the disappearance like a national mystery. Financial analysts discussed shell companies. Former employees came forward anonymously. Investigators followed paper trails stretching across multiple states. Every day revealed another layer of deception. But for Nia Carter, the center of the story was no longer Raymond Mercer. It was Simone. For the first time in years, her sister had a real chance. Not a promise. Not a charity advertisement. Not a fundraising campaign. A chance. Federal authorities worked with medical administrators to release protected patient funds recovered during the investigation. The process moved surprisingly fast. Public attention created pressure. Pressure created action. Action created results. Within 2 weeks, Simone was approved for the treatment doctors had been recommending for months. The morning of the procedure arrived beneath a cold Mississippi sky. Fog drifted across the hospital parking lot. Bare tree branches moved gently in the wind. The world seemed unusually quiet. Nia sat beside Simone before sunrise. Neither spoke much. Some moments become too important for unnecessary words. Simone looked smaller in the hospital bed than Nia remembered. Years of illness had stolen weight and energy. Yet her eyes remained bright. "Whatever happens," Simone said softly, "I'm proud of you." Nia felt tears forming immediately. "Don't talk like that." Simone smiled. "I'm serious." She squeezed Nia's hand. "You spent years carrying everybody else." The words landed deep. Nia thought about her parents. She thought about funeral bills, hospital corridors, cleaning shifts, late-night bus rides, missed meals, forgotten dreams. For so long, survival had consumed every part of her life. Now, sitting beside her sister, she realized something surprising. She had survived too. Not perfectly, not gracefully, but she survived. Hours later, doctors wheeled Simone into surgery. Then came the waiting. The longest kind of waiting. Nia sat alone in a hard plastic chair. The same kind of chair she had occupied countless times before, except this time felt different. Hope sat beside her. Hours passed, morning became afternoon, afternoon stretched toward evening. Finally, a surgeon entered the waiting area. Nia stood immediately. The doctor's expression told her everything before a single word was spoken. The procedure had succeeded. Nia covered her mouth. For several seconds she could not breathe. Then she cried. Not the quiet tears she had hidden for years, not the exhausted tears of survival. These were different. Relief, pure relief, the kind that arrives only after carrying impossible weight for too long. Across the country, the investigation continued. More arrests followed. Several executives accepted plea agreements. Financial records exposed years of fraud. Project Evergreen became a symbol of everything wrong with charitable corruption. Vanessa Sterling eventually appeared before investigators. Her testimony revealed additional information. Though her career collapsed, public opinion gradually recognized an uncomfortable truth. She had been both participant and prisoner. She benefited from the system, but she also feared it. The real architects preferred remaining invisible. Raymond Mercer remained missing. His disappearance fueled endless speculation. Yet for many families, his fate mattered less than the lives finally receiving help. Recovered funds supported treatment programs across multiple states. Patients who had waited months received assistance. Hospitals expanded services. Communities organized oversight boards. Something good emerged from the wreckage. 6 months later, Pine Hollow hosted another charity event. This one looked very different. No celebrity headliners, no extravagant production, no giant promises. Local churches partnered with hospitals. Community leaders managed finances transparently. Every donation could be tracked publicly. Trust replaced spectacle. Near the end of the evening, organizers invited Nia Carter onto the stage. She almost refused. Old memories still lingered, but Simone convinced her. When Nia stepped beneath the lights, she noticed something immediately. The stage no longer frightened her, because she no longer needed it. Applause filled the room. Simone sat in the front row smiling, healthy, alive, present. For Nia, that was enough. Then someone requested a song. The audience agreed enthusiastically. Nia laughed nervously. For years she had sung only in hospital rooms and small apartments. Now an entire community waited. She looked towards Simone. Her sister nodded. So Nia sang, not for fame, not for judges, not for record labels, not for applause. She sang because music had carried her through darkness. She sang because truth mattered. She sang because some wounds heal best when given a voice. The song filled the hall, simple, honest, real. When the final note faded, the audience stood. Not because the performance was perfect, because they understood what it meant. A woman once buried beneath lies had found her way back into the light, and this time nobody could take it away. Nia looked across the crowd, then toward Simone, then toward the future. For the first time in many years, she smiled without fear. The road ahead remained uncertain. Life would still bring challenges, but hope no longer felt fragile. It felt earned, and sometimes, after enough loss, earned hope becomes the strongest kind of hope there is. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and share this video.